The new parachuting system has been on console for about 2 weeks, and it's drastically different than what we had before. More importantly, it's much better overall, in my opinion. For one, wave jumping and other weird techniques are no longer a thing. You simply jump from the plane, take a good angle to your destination, and make sure you're a certain speed before your chute opens. No real tricks, no real gimmicks, it just makes more sense. Other improvements have been made as well. You no longer get stuck on objects, as you can cut your chute if you're close enough to the ground. The movement is much more fluid, allowing for much tighter turns and more accurate landing. If you hit anything on your way down, your chute will cut, so you won't get caught up on a building after just missing the roof or anything like that. And landing no longer has a huge delay of unpredictability, and last but not least, the booming sound when jumping out of the plane is the thing of the past. But how do you use all these new features to your advantage? I like to boil it down to 3 main stages: when to jump, when to dive, and how to land. We'll start with when to jump. I find myself having the most success when I jump out of the plane about 600 to 700 meters away from my destination. If you're having trouble judging this, you can look at the map and guess where about 60 or 70% of one of the big squares on the map would be between the flight path and your destination. Otherwise, you can zoom in and look for the smaller squares, which are 100 meters each, and just count 6 or 7 of those. Again, this is what I've found success with, so your mileage may vary. Once I jump out, I angle myself in a diagonal direction straight to my target, usually keeping my speed between 200 and 210 kilometers per hour. Now before, this is where we would start to do the wave technique to try and ensure we land first, but those days are now gone. Like I said before, there aren't really any tricks or gimmicks here. Just beeline it straight for your target and move on to the next step. Now this information is mainly geared towards hot drops or something very close to the flight path. If you're jumping to a location a bit further away, you'll have to leave the plane when you get as close as you can to that destination. That way you won't spend as much time in the air and you'll land quicker. Now the next step, when to dive. I try to get about 100 meters away from where I want to land and then click the left thumbstick in to dive straight down. On both PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, you click in the left thumbstick and you'll see your character dive straight to the ground and increase speed. There's a couple reasons for doing this from 100 meters away. For one, you'll be able to glide down to the ground in your parachute at full speed without coming up short or overflying your target. This will keep you from having to adjust your final descent and lose time in the air. The second reason that you need to dive early is because you need to be falling at a certain speed in order to get the best boost to the ground possible. Of course, if you go all the way to 234 kilometers per hour, you'll have an even better boost, but I think the threshold is 230 or 231 kilometers per hour to get that extra boost. If you don't get the boost, it drastically changes your time and almost stops your momentum completely. You want to make sure that you give yourself enough time to get to 231 kilometers an hour to ensure that you get the boost to the ground. It's probably the most important part of the entire jump. So when you're getting pretty close to your chute opening up, or when you're close to 100 meters away from your target landing location, click in the left thumbstick to dive straight to the ground and get that extra speed boost. Now all that's left to do now is land. You'll want to be able to keep as much speed to the ground as possible when parachuting down, and that means avoiding as much turning as you can. Obviously you'll need to course correct a bit as you avoid trees, buildings, and decide exactly where you're landing compared to the other players, but you want to hit the ground going as fast as possible. There are cases where hitting the ground going too fast can present an issue, however. If your character's at a certain angle going a certain speed, you'll end up rolling once you land, causing you to get a bit of a delay before you can pick up a weapon, or it might even throw you off of the edge of the building if you've landed on the roof. If you want to avoid this, simply hit the ground going slower and at a less extreme angle, and you'll find your character will just start running and land on their feet. Most times when I'm parachuting, I hit the ground as fast as possible, deal with the roll, and then go from there. I just want to be on the ground as fast as I can to get a weapon, even if there aren't any buildings around that are rendered. A couple other important things to note with this new parachuting system. You can glide forever, it seems. You can even hover in the air long enough to get the first airdrop of the game. Where this really helps though is if you want to travel a long way in the air, you can pull your chute very early, keep your speed between 10 and 15 kilometers an hour to travel long distances. It's easy to get too eager and fall too fast to the ground, but keeping your speed in this range will let you glide seemingly forever. Now I'm certainly not the best long jumper, especially in my group of players, but this new system definitely helps me out a lot. I did a match last night just to test it out. I jumped as soon as I possibly could on Vikendi, and I traveled the entire length of the map to my destination in the air without fail. And that is a 6x6 map So if you really have the time and you want to, you can get anywhere. Overall, I feel this parachute system is a huge upgrade to the game over what we had previously. It takes some getting used to, of course, but once you get the hang of it, you find that you have more control, and it's also a bit more realistic, which helps. I know a couple of you have asked for parachuting tips and tricks video from me, and I just haven't gotten around to it. I've honestly just been trying to figure out the system for myself. I find that when I do jump in that optimal range between 600 to 700 meters away from my target, that's when I have the best success, where I get down to the ground fastest. And then I try to follow the steps as best I can, the way I laid it out here, and I seem to be having success getting to the ground first, getting a weapon, and then trying to get a kill, trying to survive. Unfortunately, it doesn't always end that well for me, just because you know how it goes in PUBG, but getting to the ground first is definitely a must, and hopefully some of these tips can help you do just that. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Do you have any disagreements with what I've said? Have you found some other method that's worked best for you? That's what I think I like about this system. I don't think there's going to be one exact way that everyone's going to parachute. There might be some system out there that someone's using that is just way better and they're always first, but just from my experience, this is what I've done, this is what I've heard, and so I wanted to share it with you today. Now don't forget to like the video if you found this useful at all, and subscribe to stay up to date on everything that I publish. You can follow me on Twitter and join my Discord. Those links are in the description below. And I also have a new t-shirt out, the level 3 helmet t-shirt, where I basically take all the components of PUBG and form it into a level 3 helmet. Check that out in the description as well. But with that being said, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Until next time, I'll see you later.